Hi, welcome to Mathematics with Tom. I am Tom, and today we are going to construct a histogram. So this is our title for today is construct. I always like building. Construct a histogram. Now, we're construct a histogram. Now notice what we're doing is we're using the same data set that we've used in making a dot plot and in making a frequency distribution and even in making a probability distribution. And it was the first 20 digits of pi. So I've included the data set, I've included the dot plot, and a frequency distribution here for us. So this is a big deal. Here's what's happening. So a histogram is a unique structure that we're going to use later to understand a big idea of probability. And that is this. A histogram displays a one-dimensional, it's dimensional, concept as two-dimensional. I'll put i.e. that is. i.e. what it does is it takes the vertical line, so a line, to a rectangle. And the big thing about rectangles is if you were to tell someone about a rectangle, like for example, a house is some kind of a rectangular shape for most of us, then what you don't talk about the rectangle as being 5 feet. Like, for example, if we were talking about this first line in our frequency, we would say, oh, it's 2 units long. But if you had a rectangle, you don't describe it as being 2 units long. You describe it as being an area, like 2 square feet or something along those lines. The same way we buy homes. So how does this work? Well, I'm going to just sketch the idea up above here on my dot plot. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a box. Maybe we'll put a yellow box over around each group of data. So if it's only got 2 dots in it, it'll only be about so high, like these first 2 boxes. If it's got 4 dots, well, it's going to have to go higher to put all the dots in them. And then back down to 2 dots. 3 dots, it will have to go higher. Now, I'm also doing something as I go, and that is notice that my box comes right in between the data values. For example, when I make this next box that represents the frequency of 6s, it's going to start at 5.5 and it's going to end at 6.5. The next box will start at 6.5 and end at 7.5. So I can write that down like 6.5, 7.5. And we always do that. We always split the data just right smack dab in the middle. We never do something like 6.4 to 7.4. No, it's just right in the middle of whatever the units our data are. And then we would continue from 7.5 to 8.5 and finally from 8.5 to 9.5. And that's it. I've almost completely drawn our histogram for us. But I don't want to take all the fun. So let's do this together now. A histogram is more like a frequency distribution in that it has a horizontal axis on which we're going to put some information about the data, and a vertical axis on which we will record the frequency. So here's what we're going to do. We'll make our graph about like this. And like this. So our frequency goes up to 4. So let's put this. So, but notice that this is the frequency. We're going to call this the frequency per unit. Okay, frequency per unit. Now, on the bottom, notice that when I look up at the yellow information, I didn't record the data values inside. I just recorded the edges of, Look at this, look at this. If we look up here, see, the only thing that mattered was the edges of the boxes, the edges of the rectangles. And that's what we're going to see here as we broaden this idea of the histogram, is that we just use the edges of the rectangles, and we call those the class boundaries. So let's write that. Our horizontal axis will be class boundaries. Class boundaries. And our class boundaries, they start here. We always just start half a unit. So let's just make a quick little note. Class boundaries, I'll put in parentheses, start half a unit, below lowest value. Okay, so our data here is in whole numbers. Our lowest data value is 1. So we're going to start that, well, what's below 1 would be 0. Half a unit between 0 and 1 would be 0.5. So our class boundaries are going to start at 0.5. And they're going to go up to 1.5. And we're going to do this all the way to 9.5. So here we go. 2.5. 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. Right there, look at that perfect amount of space, 9.5. Okay, we're almost done actually. We've gotten the hard work out of our way. So here we go. Our class boundaries then. Oh, our frequency. Let's put a frequency down here. Frequency goes up to 4. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't have to label everything. All you need, the rule of thumb is there's enough information that it's clear. Like you could put the 1 and the 4, or maybe you just wanted enough so that the reader could see the pattern. And usually the rule in mathematics is three numbers would reveal a pattern. So if you type 1, 2, 3, it's obvious the next tick mark must be 4. And we'll label it today, but you don't have to, and sometimes. Okay, well, look at this. Our first one has a frequency per unit of 2, so it's going to be up to 2 here. And then we're going to have our vertical lines. We'll do these blue maybe. It's going to come up, and then go up. Oops, that didn't go up like I'd hoped. Let's fix that. And then put a little bar across the top. And then there's our first one. And then our second one is going to be the same height. And it's going to continue out at this height of 2. Continuing at the height of 2. Another little bar there. Make it whole. Close the bar. Essentially, it's like a little capsule, a little box over the dots. You could think of the dots inside if you wanted, like we have in our sketch up above. Notice that's just a sketch of the idea that we did initially. This is the formal histogram that we're making now. The next one is 4. So wow, we're going to go, oh wow, this box goes all the way up to 4. So let's do that. All the way up here to 4. And again, the other side of the box. Put a little cross member there, close that box. Then the next one is a 2 again. So we're going to go, it's going to be there. And then we have a 3. Oh, here's our first 3 for the picture. So let's go back up to 3. Again, 3. Close that box. Then we have 2 2s. We have 2 2s down here 5.5 to 6.5. So it's going to go up to 2. Again, up to 2. Make 2 separate box tops there. Our next one goes up to down. Oh, whoops. Oh, you guys should have stopped me. Those weren't 2s. Those were 1s. Those were 1s. If I've ever seen a 1, they should have been like this. And like that. There. 1s. Let me erase those mistakes. Goodness, you guys should not let me make these mistakes. No reason to make things more difficult. And our final one, oh no, we have 2 more boxes. The next box goes up to 2. The next rectangle goes up to 2. Goes up to 2. And our final box up to 3. There we go. That is our perfect histogram. Okay. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this here. So let's copy this. And watch what I'm going to do though. Notice I'm leaving off the frequency numbers over there. I don't need those. But what I do need is a fresh screen. So I'll go over here and pick one up. Let's do that. And I'm going to just leave it right about there. Now here's what I wanted to do. Now, so we've made a histogram. Now we're going to make a relative histogram. And what happens? In this case, we're just going to put the proportion of the data, or in other words, we also said the relative frequency over here, on the vertical axis. Relative frequency. And remember, we already did these calculations in our earlier video when we made our frequency, just a relative frequency distribution. The numbers here are the same. Remember, these were in 20ths. We said the first bar is 2 out of 20, which we said was 0.1. We said that if you have 4 out of 20, that was 0.2. Then we come over, we have a 3 out of 20. We said that was 0.15. And then 0.05. And with that swift change of the pen, we have now made a relative frequency histogram. I'm going to stop there. In our next video, we're going to talk some more about the histogram and how would you make it if you didn't have a dot plot or frequency distribution already handy. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.